Another Buzz TV,
What's going on, my brother?
version Dub P. Now this one here, this is something we were asked to talk about.
No bells or buzzers for this one.
No bells or buzzers. And for this one here, we took a while for it because we didn't want to have the shock value. But,
Yeah.
you know, when y'all come to us, we're going to put our effort in to talk about it. So today's topic, we're dealing with the teen pool party in Texas. You know, where it was broke up or invaded by police. And you've all seen the video, uproar with the young girl being manhandled by a police officer who has now resigned.
African-American girl, yeah.
He has resigned from his position. But there's a bigger picture here. It is not an isolated incident, of course, we all know. There's been several incidents over and over again here. So we're here to talk about it, give our opinion on what do we do from here, what do we feel happened, and where do we go from. So what's your reaction to seeing this video? I know we've seen it several times at this point.
Oh, man. It's hard to see. It's hard to watch, especially being a young black male. You know, of course, we see movies like this stuff all the time. And some people are actually out there think this stuff don't exist anymore. And I know you have, and I have been in situations like this before. And this is something you can never get used to. You know, and I wish I don't know what to say, like a solution for this. I just know I still get angry when I see stuff like this. I get, man, just going back when I see this video, these young kids, right? It was black and white kids there. This cop, from what I've heard, this part isn't on the video, why the cops were even called. I've heard from multiple people, so I don't know if this is the actual reason why, but they were called because, of course, the neighborhood was probably a majority white neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood in Texas, and the neighbor was nervous and scared because there were a lot of black kids running around. It was a pool party. There's no one outside sagging their pants, smoking, and just listening to loud music. It was none of that from what we've seen. And from what I've seen, this cop ran in. I think something was actually, I don't know, maybe something could be mentally wrong with this cop. But then when he ran in, he rolled like he was in he was in the Marine, like he's in war, and he rolled, he's on the ground, he got back up and kept running. No reason. He didn't trip and fall or anything. He just rolled. And he was coming after only people of color. And came after, told him aside, handcuffed everyone. And, these are young kids. So he tells one of the girls to, to shut up. The young girl, she's, freedom of speech. Obviously not. So I guess it's, police state or whatever you want to call it. Not only that, slammed her onto the ground, kept his knee in her back. She's in her bathing suit and everything, just going to have a good time. Her knee is constantly in her back, shoving her face into the ground.
Pretty terrible. It's a terrible video to watch.
Yeah.
For me, there's a couple of things that stick out to me. One of the first things you said was fear. There were too many black kids in the neighborhood. It doesn't say they were doing anything wrong. They were just guilty of being in the neighborhood. That's what I think we need to start if we're actually going to make a change. Is why do you fear black kids being in the neighborhood?
That's a good place to start.
You know, I mean, they're obviously enjoying themselves, having a good time. Another thing I noticed in this video is, for the most part, these kids weren't extremely disrespectful. I heard a lot of "sir," "excuse me," "please," "we just got here," "I'm sorry," you know, "we're not trying to do anything, it wasn't us," you know, "we didn't do this." And they're guilty of running. Now, when we've seen as much as we've seen in the recent years of what's been happening to our young black youth in the hands of police, why would you not run?
Someone has a gun coming at you.
Especially the language that this one particular officer, and I don't want to condemn the whole force, because this one particular officer was definitely a lot more aggressive than all the other officers. You hear his language, you hear him swearing at these kids. There's even a scene where there is an officer having a dialect with several other kids. And this one aggressive officer walks over and says, "Get on the ground. What did I tell you? Sit down." And he starts aggressively verbalizing what he needs to say to these kids.
He didn't want the kid, you know, talking, and I think the kid is very articulate too when he's talking. You hear.
But there was another officer there that was already handling the situation. But because the officer was handling him in a respectful way, having a conversation, allowing him to speak, and him to speak back to him, and answering their questions, this particular officer had a problem with that, and he became irate. And when your point where he grabbed the same officer grabbed the girl and threw her to the ground, and kept mushing her face to the ground purposely. He said it verbally with his mouth, face down, face first.
He kept pushing her face
into the ground.
Not just like touching. So he was suffocating her.
And she was not fighting him.
She was not fighting at all. She wasn't trying to like struggle up.
She wasn't fighting him.
He just wanted to mush her face.
She asked for her mom. She said she should have freedom of speech. Now maybe she may have said some things that you think that aren't right. But the problem is, the officer thinks it's more important to be the authority than it is to protect and to serve. He's not protecting, he's not serving the community. He just wants to flex his power of the authority. Talking to these kids in this manner, you do what I say. I told you to sit down, you didn't, therefore it's against the law.
He had his own law.
They got up to talk to another officer, and they were condemned for talking to another officer that was talking back with him. Then you had the boy that ran off, who looked like he wanted to, and you know,
I threw her to the ground. Yeah,
looked like he wanted to stop the injustice.
He wanted to stop it.
They came after him. He ran, and then we don't see what happens when he ran.
He come back beat up.
But we see he comes back in a different state than he left. And here's an issue that I have. All these kids of color are forced down. They have to sit down, they have to lay down, face down, they're in cuffs. While other people, predominantly the video looks like white people, are allowed to just walk around.
Because they were all mixed out there when the cops came out there, and they handpicked all the black kids out.
And they're just there.
And he's like, "You sit down," just like that.
If you see the rampage that he's going through, this officer is going through, as he's yelling at these kids, and to think that there's this one kid just walking around with a video camera, self however, and he's just walking in between groups like it's no problem at all.
No problem.
And these other kids can't even stand. They weren't leaving. They weren't evading. I understand some of them evaded earlier.
Okay, sir, I'm sorry. That's how they're talking. They're not trying to be hard, no thug, no gangster, none of that.
They're guilty of being in the neighborhood, and they're guilty of running from a threat.